Madam Chair, in today's debate, we believe proposition clearly wins, and our side disappear to their side. And today, the proposition opposes the rise of health-based influencing. Okay, so let me be clear about our stance. We are not against health. We are not against exercise, nutrition, or people sharing positive experiences. Our opposition is toward a world where health becomes content, where algorithms reward the most extreme, attractive, and profitable versions of wellness rather than what actually improves people's lives. This debate is about whether turning health into a social media industry makes society healthier. We believe it does not. Today, we will show you three things. First, health influencing creates unrealistic standards that damage people's relationships with their bodies. Second, it transforms health into a personal lead from a personal need into a commercial product. And third, it spreads misinformation and weakens trust in experts. So first, health influencing creates unrealistic standards and harms mental health. The first and most important stakeholder in this debate is ordinary people, especially young people. But why? Because they are the people most exposed to this content and they are the people most vulnerable to its effects. So in the status quo, health influencers present a very specific image, e.g.,
Sure.
they they eat perfect meals. I will take your POI later. They eat perfect meals. They have perfect bodies. They never struggle. The problem is that audiences only see the final product. They do not see genetics, financial privilege, professional trainers, editing, years of effort, failed attempts. Now, what this does is that this creates a false belief. That is, oh, the same routine. I should look the same. But human bodies do not work like that. People have different biology, they have different resources, they have different schedules and health conditions. Yet social media creates the illusion that health is purely a matter of discipline. If you succeed, you're someone responsible. If you fail, you are lazy. This creates enormous pressure. The impact is that people stop viewing health as feeling stronger and start viewing health as looking acceptable. Young people especially begin comparing themselves to unrealistic standards. They experience body dissatisfaction, anxiety, unhealthy eating habits, and to obsession with appearance. And this is the first reason we win. The purpose of health should be improving people's lives, not making people feel permanently inadequate. Before I move on, I will take your POI.
Is as you mentioned, the stakeholder is young people. However, in our side, we believe the main stakeholders are older ordinary peoples who are trying to diet or whatnot.
We don't see why older people but would be mainly affected by this motion because old people like although some old people might want to incline towards getting a diet or incline towards having a more healthy lifestyle, they don't really look at these influencers and like they're not really affected by social media as young people because young people we believe are the main people that is attracted to this type of content, that are attracted to like these gymfluencers. So I believe that answers your question. So, our second point is about how health influencing commercializes something that should not be controlled by profit. The second stakeholder is ordinary consumers. The opposition may say, oh, health people useful advice. But the question is not whether some advice is useful. The question is what incentives the system creates. Social media rewards attention. We think that both sides or everyone in this room can acknowledge that. And the easiest way to get attention is not always accuracy. A qualified expert saying eat balanced meals and exercise consistently is quote unquote boring. An influencer saying this one trick transformed my body in 30 days. This gets millions of views. The system rewards extreme diets, dramatic transformations, and miracle products. Why? Because these things sell. Many health influencers are not only creating content, they are businesses. They sell supplements, they may sell workout plans, they may sell meal programs, or they may sell wellness products. This changes how people think about health. Instead of asking, what does my body actually need? People start asking, what product do I need to buy to become healthy? The impact is twofold. First, consumers waste money chasing unrealistic solutions. Second, health becomes a status symbol. People who can afford expensive diets, equipment, and programs are portrayed as more disciplined, while people without those are blamed. This creates inequality. Health stops being about well-being and becomes about who can afford the right lifestyle. Next, furthermore, the incentive is there. these gymfluencers or these health influencers post content on social media in order to make money. Thus, they have a direct incentive to maybe exaggerate certain events or maybe exaggerate certain things to get clicks, to get views. This leads me to my third minor no, to my third point to our third point about misinformation and how health influencing and undermines experts. And the third stakeholder, society as a whole. A healthy society depends on people trusting reliable information. But health influencing creates a dangerous problem, which is that popularity replaces expertise. Someone can have millions of followers without medical training or scientific knowledge because they have a direct incentive to spread misinformation for clicks, for views. Now, my second speaker will elaborate more on the misinformation point. Okay, so now onto the stakeholder wing. Judge, the biggest question in this debate is who bears the greatest consequences? The opposition focuses on the small benefit that some people may feel motivated by influencers, but our side protects the people who are most active. Our side protects the people that are most effective first, young people that are exposed constantly and suffer from unrealistic standards. Two, ordinary consumers who are vulnerable to spending money and following bad advice. Three, society, and it suffers when misinformation becomes more powerful than expertise. This, my second speaker will elaborate on. So these harms are large and deep because we're not just talking about whether someone likes a fitness video. We are talking about people's self-image, financial decisions, understanding, and much more. Now for a preemption, the opposition will likely argue that people have freedom to choose what content they watch. But this ignores how social media works. People are not making choices in a neutral environment because algorithms constantly push the most engaging content. It need to search for unrealistic body standards. The platform brings them directly to them. The problem is not individual choice. The problem is a system designed to maximize attention, even when that attention harms people. At the end of this debate, compare the two worlds. The opposition gives you a world where some people are inspired, but some people can find useful tips, but it also creates unrealistic expectations, exploitation, and misinformation. Our world says health should be guided by evidence, not algorithms. Health should be about well-being, not performance, and health should be about people. And when we weigh the magnitude, proposition clearly wins. Thus, we proudly propose. Thank you.
Imagine having a free access to fitness tips, nutrition advice, and mental health supports from people who inspire millions every day. Health information has never been more accessible, and that can empower people to live healthier lives. There will be few framings. So this debate is not about whether every health influencers is perfect or whether misinformation exists. Misinformations can come from many sources, including traditional media and even professionals. This whether society benefits from the growing number of people sharing health knowledge and encouraging healthier lifestyles online. And health-based influencing refers to influencers creating content about topics such as diet, exercise, mental health, sleep, and etc. Before I move on, there's going to be uh, few rebuttals. They talked about that people will compare themselves to unrealistic bodybuilders or fitness influencers, leading to insecurity and unhealthy body image. We don't think so because individuals are capable of critical thinking. Simply seeing muscular bodybuilders does not force someone to compare themselves or make unhealthy choices. Society should un encourage media literacies rather than reject health influencing altogether. They also mentioned that there will be exaggerated or make misinformations, but we believe that because they are operating those channels uh, with their reputations, they will care whether this source is really accurate, because if they make even one mistake, they might the subscribers will not going to watch, which means they will care a lot of they will invest time to
No,
that. Health influencers do not force anyone to buy products, and also consumers have the freedom to reviews, research information, and decide whether a product is worth purchasing, which means uh,
POI.
because they are rational beings, they will not just going to buy, or also they mentioned about um they will bec someone who has a lot of money will just buy just every single product which is inequality. We believe that is obvious case, and uh that's something that we can that is unfortunate. And before I move on, yes.
Okay, so how can individuals be rational or have critical thinking under the social media algorithm, which is built to maximize misinformation, and attention, and is built to coerce people into believing things that they don't, to coerce people into believing things?
Even if there is an algorithm or there's a system that's like that is exaggerating and make people want to buy, even if there are plenty of those source in YouTube or other social media, still there are comments. Even for example, if someone buys that single product and that wasn't good, they will want to make a comment, which means customers will eventually going to make a comments or reviews, which means if they think the product is really trustworthy and they think it is okay to buy, they will eventually look at the reviews and what consumer says, which means even if those media exaggerated or there's algorithm exaggerating, still consumers will going to buy what they need. So moving on to my argument, health-based influencings make health information more accessible. The rise of health-based influencing improves public health by making health information accessible to more people. Why is this likely? Many people do not regularly visit doctors, nutritionists, or fitness experts because of the cost of time or lack of interest. However, millions of people use social media every day. How does this happen? Health-based influencers present information in a single and engaging way through short videos, posts, and personal experiences. This make people more interested in exercises, healthy eating, sleep, and etc. For many people and influencers may be the first reason they started caring about their health. What is the impact? As more people become aware of healthy habits, society becomes healthier overall, reducing preventable disease and encouraging long-term well-being. Moving on to my second argument, health-based influencing provides optimized products and service for viewers. Health-based influencing benefits society because it helps people find products and service that match their individual needs. Why is this likely? Everyone has different health goals. Some people want to be lose some people want to lose weight, other wants to build their muscles, sleep, or reduce stress, or eat healthier. It can be difficult to find information that fits these specific needs. How does this happen? Health influencers often focus on specific topics and audience, which means in in each videos they were going to concentrate and they were going to target people. For example, as I mentioned, people who need to improve sleeps, or people who reduce sleep stresses or eat healthier, which means um influencers will eventually going to uh give uh give a lot of helpful informations to the audience. So, for example, fitness influencers shares beginner workout programs. Nutrition influencers recommend healthier recipes for busy students. Mental health creator can provide like how to manage their stress techniques. Or running shoes and training plans for runners. So, for this reason, it's going to make uh audiences and people's life more healthier and convenient. So what is the impact? People save time, make more informed choices, and are more likely to find health solutions that fits their lifestyles. This increases participations in healthy habits and improve overall well-being. And proud to propose about oppose.
Judge, clearly we cannot simply risk the impact in the field of medical field, and this is why we strongly oppose this motion we strongly propose this motion that this House opposes the rise of health-based influences. So I like to first start on a small rebuttal on the opposition's arguments. So the opposition will argue that individuals have critical thinking skills and can divide good information from bad. So we do not need to restrict health-based influencing. Let's paint a best case scenario where audiences are capable of fact checking and everything they see online, where good information rises to the top and harmful content is simply ignored. But this ignores how social media actually works. Platforms are engineered to maximize engagement. Furthermore, not everyone has equal capacity for critical thinking. Teenagers, individuals with low health literacy, and old people and those struggling with mental health issues are particularly vulnerable to persuasive but misleading content. OP has even agreed that the main people who are being influenced are old people from the Bob asked, and the old people have an especially bad capability of decision making in the internet. Studies have shown that even highly educated individuals fall for health misinformation when it is presented by reliable, and trusted figures. The opposition placed an unfair burden on individuals to fact check every piece of health content they consume when the responsibility should lie on the platforms and the influencers themselves. Even in the best case scenario, expecting critical thinking to solve the problem is not a solution. It is an excuse to avoid accountability. On the other hand, for our worst case scenario, where these influencers actually send non negative information, it will still move away the trend of going to professional medical treatments or in doctors. And I will explain that later. But I will still give a simple explanation. So under our worst case, where they don't spread non negative impactful information, I assume people start believing in those influencers. Although the treatments are inefficient and useless, they still choose to follow these influencers. And what happens to those professional hospitals and doctors? Nobody comes to them. Now I'd like to start on a small rebuild. So influencers are driven by engagement metrics such as likes, shares, comments, and and because these determine their income through sponsorships and brand deals, and their content is targeted to get followers, not accuracy, meaning they prioritize what is eye-catching and sensational over what is scientifically correct. The opposition will argue that misinformation can occur anywhere in newspapers, from doctors, even in government announcements. So why single out influencers? This is nonsense. And misinformation in the medical field cannot be ignored because it has life or death consequences. When a doctor makes an error, they face professional consequences, lawsuits, or reviewed by medical boards. When a newspaper gets a fact wrong, they issue a correction. But when and spreads dangerous health advice to millions, there is no accountability, no license to revoke, and no governing body to restrict them. No requirement to correct the record. The scale is simply incomparable. Now, I'd like to make a small add-on to our first speaker, about misinformation. So, health-based influencers are non-medical professionals, yet they provide advice on diet,
UI.
exercise, health, and wellness that can have serious physical and psychological consequences. Yes.
If misinformation helps influencers gain followers, why do most successful health influencers spend years building credibility and trust with their audience?
Just because they have credibility, people choose to believe in them, right? And that is actually even more dangerous since, as I just stated, people are intended to believe in highly socially reliable people and well-known people, right? And what if they send such misinformation out, right? People believe that they're medical professionals and they just simply believe in them. And how can we underestimate such potential negative impacts?
You're
Now on to my arguments. So a mental health influencer might suggest what breathing exercise as a cure for depression. And this is an oversimplification that can dismiss the severity of a real medical condition and discourages people from seeking proper treatment. The rise of health-based influences has directly contributed to dangerous trends, from eating weird ingredients to mental health advice that oversimplifies complex conditions like anxiety and depression, to the promotion of unregulated supplements that actually interact dangerously. When influencers do all these stuff, they aren't just wrong, they are endangering lives. Furthermore, the nature of social amplifies the most sensational content, not the most accurate, meaning misinformation can easily outpace correction. By the time a harm claim has posted, it is already reached to millions and caused real damage, whether this is physical harm from a dangerous product or psychological harm from internalizing false narratives about health. I would also like to introduce a new argument about the erosion of trust in professional healthcare. So, when influencers position themselves as health authorities, they the credibility of trained medical professionals. Audiences may begin to trust an influencer over their own doctor, leading to dangerous outcomes such as delayed treatment, self diagnosis, or rejection of evidence based medicine. A young person struggling with mental health might watch an influencer's video on natural anxiety cures and decide that their therapy or medication is unnecessary, delaying proper care and allowing the condition to worsen. A parent might follow an influencer's dietary advice rather than consulting a professional doctor and compromising their child's nutrition. This of trust is particularly concerning during public health crisis, where misinformation from influencers can directly harm public health efforts. For example, you can see during the COVID-19 pandemic, right, where many influencers promoted unproven treatments, undermining years of public health messaging and contributing to vaccine when people and influence people to not take such vaccines. The consequences of this are not abstract. They are measured in hospitals, and deaths could have been prevented. This is deeply damaging to the public health, Judge, because when people cannot distinguish between credible and false information, they are vulnerable to exploitation. By opposing the rise of health-based influencing, we are defending the authority of qualified professionals and ensure that health decisions are guided by science, not social media algorithms. Now, for a quick small way. So on the opposition, they offer dangerous outcomes from these so-called medical professionals. Well, we actually offer impacts. We actually prevent such a negative impact from happening, and we actually introduce them to actually go to medical professionals that may actually cure them. And proud to propose.
Judge, what do you think is the purpose of health-based influence? So health-based influencing is influencers promoting or reviewing health-based products or services in their social media platforms. For example, reviewing a sports drink or reviewing a specific workout routine can be an example of health-based influencing. I'd like to move on to my rebuttal. I'll have two main rebuttals. One from the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister, and one from the Deputy Prime Minister. So firstly, the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister have stated that influencers will be using extreme diets and engage with fake results to create contentment for the social media, for their social media, and those who follow those influencers will easily get tricked by them, whether they're smart or not. We agree to the point that these could happen in a short-term result. However, they didn't engage in the long-term results. It is very important to talk about the long-term results in debates, and the results follow. Even though this engagement and extreme diet may be possible, and this fake results may be possible in some points, we also have to acknowledge that influencers are service-based workers, meaning that if their service is bad, they cannot stand. This means that if the result is bad, and those who follow those workouts from those influencers, and if they tried it and the results are bad, they will not follow them and they will not trust them. And this is what service-based workers have to face. If they even though if they're famous, and if they had 3 years of getting credibility from many different users, if even one time if they fail to or trick or make too much of a fuss about something that isn't possible, it will be very highly likely that those influencers stand in those social media platforms anymore. So so looking at the long-term results now, those influencers who actually wasn't following the purpose and trying to not promote health-based products, but to engage them and to actually not think about what the results can be, will slowly fall down. And then those who actually care about what the purposes of themselves are about influence promoting and reviewing health-based products will actually survive, and these will be left in the social media platforms, which is a very good result. Second, the Deputy Prime Minister not that this will result in people not trusting professionals. This is not true because people are not dumb, and they will know if they actually need medical help, and if they actually want to seek medical help, and if they feel, then they will not. They're hurt so much, they're bleeding. They will not accept influencer. I'm bleeding. Oh, can you please help me? They will not say that. If they're bleeding, if they're about to die, and if they're really hurt, they will call the police or ambulance service. And so this is not true. And if they're really hurt, and if they really want to seek advice from a professional, they will, because they want to live, and that's what humans do. Okay, I'll get the POI.
Okay, so in the current algorithmic system that exists within social media is intentionally designed to promote viral content and engagement over things that will be potentially true. Don't like these fitness influencers have the direct incentive to exaggerate or spread misinformation because that's what brings them the views, that's what gives them the money they need to survive.
Yes, I get your point. Yeah, that is how it's designed, and that is how it's supposed to work. But I'm saying that that can be the case for now. But as I said, people will not keep following and keep trusting influencers that cannot give them the actual result, because they get the health-based product because they want to become too. But if they can't do that, and if they can't do that, and that results don't follow what they actually want from those influencers, then they will not like them, and that's a human's natural. And for now, that might be true, and I can totally agree that that is the system, but that will not stand for long, and I believe that I have proven enough about this point. Okay, now moving on to our side's third argument is that health influencers motivates positive physical changes. So I'll have 3 points about that. First, why does this happen? Second, why is this effective? And third, so what does our world actually look like? Firstly, this happens since health-based influencers shows a positive outcome of their healthcare. They won't like promote something for a negative outcome. They will promote something for a positive outcome, and a better, more fit body, for example, and more healthy body. And this motivates the people or the followers to actually they will know that it's a good thing, and but they have the problem why most people cannot actually make those body like that too is because of less motivation, and this include that's the point of why this is effective. So this is effective because most people who look for health-based media is not likely to go into a profession, like even though they know that Harvard, like theses, or like really smart people writing like columns that might be more accurate or more effective and more trustworthy, they won't read that just because they want to get healthier. And reading that and reading those professional language won't really motivate them to actually become more fit. However, since as our honorable leader of opposition has said, this social media is very accessible for many people, and since it's accessible, people can, if they want to be fit, they can actually go into social media and find out about those platforms, and then they can choose influencer who can trust and has good results, and then they can actually get motivated by them. As the opposition said, those are engaging, and one of the purposes of media is social media should be engaging. So they'll get more motivated by that, but this engagement doesn't become so extreme that they will and most people won't trust if it's so extreme, and they are people who know what can be right or what can be wrong. And third analysis is that what our world looks like. So our world looks like a place where fit people or healthy people can be healthy, and since they're healthy, they will not really find about health-based products, but people who actually need help in their health, but are lazy. Yeah, they're lazy, but they need motivation, and they can do it if they have the ability to. They will go into social media it's a accessible place where you can get health products, and it will be a world where more people can be accessible in healthcare services. Proud to oppose.
Panel, this is not a debate. This is of influence on future generations, and by opposing health-based, we make younger generation more rationals and have a better value towards the societies. Even so now I'm gonna help you tell you, Judge, why the stakeholders in this case. So the stakeholders that we are justifying is that the younger generation, the certain individuals in the societies, and in a POI, our opponent brought up a stakeholder that they believe is an elder. However, even if we add stakeholders, which are elders considered in the opposition case, elders are actually more easier to get tricked in these circumstances, and they will get fooled by algorithms and persuasive influence, and same as the younger generations, which I will identify in these clashes. So my first clash is about who benefits the normal individuals in this world. So what our opponent said is that health influencers give free, easy health knowledge to ordinary people, and it helps people keep fit and live healthier lives. People can choose to ignore it or not, and people are not that dumb to get persuaded by a single influencer. However, they said that also need views. If they make a single mistake, they will lose a lot of subscribers, and the viewers are rational enough to know what is correct and what is not. So now moving on to what we said. We said that ordinary people lack professional judgment, and influencers spread extreme unscientific health content, and also they might take fake health photos, and also they want to just have the view and money throughout the algorithm. And how the social media itself works, we attract people that don't have ability to know which of them is correct or not inside of these content. So these content, by like spreading these content into people's mind, is definitely not ignorable. So why we win this clash? Because first of all, opposition only sees the health help of this societies, and we focus on real physical harm to every normal individual. And I'll explain why. This trend ruins people's health, which is the most important basic right of social media. These trends also ruin people's personal opinions and idea, which shapes the future generation's perspective. Why? Because a lot of people going on social media these days are kids, are teenagers, just like us. So these, for example, future generations, I believe in non-achievable schedules, non-achievable methods to create to have a better mental health and opinions towards themselves that are just not rational and actually non-achievable in this present societies. For example, an influencer, when you're scrolling on a random Friday to just on your For You page, the algorithm provides you with a video. For example, an influencer only eats like one apple a day, like one apple in the morning for their breakfast, for a single breakfast. That is just not really normal. That is not classified as normal. An influencer will follow these aesthetics, they will follow these trends that make you think that this is trendy enough for you to follow. So, and they might think that they're not organized. People might think that they're not organized enough, they're not wealthy enough, etc., which is really harmful, because for teenagers like us, for elders, for other people, or like for adults like you, Judge, so they will think that these thinkings are just not correct. This is morally incorrect for people to think like that, and that's why they would think like that, because of how the algorithm works. They give you things that are popular, they give you things that are similar to what you search, and that's why in our team's case, we should not let these health influencers rise, and that's why we should provide you with more information about how to improve your mental health, and not following all these trendy things what influencers said and what they promote, because they get money, they want money. As our opponent says, yes, they lose followers when they make a single mistake, and that's why they want to make things that are non-achievable, that are unrealistic methods to keep the viewers maybe entertained. But slowly, when you think that this is entertaining, you might just get into this thinking. You might just believe in these things, because time changes everything. Rejected. So the opposition ignores this greed behind these trends, and our side stops a mass public misleading and protects social health order. There are many people online who are pointing out these misinformations in vlogs or influencer routine videos that they also gain a lot of views, and they could help us to identify which one of them is real and which one of them is just simply non-realistic and not positive enough for people to go through your POI.
What is the harm of following trends?
The harm of following trends is very clear in this motion, and our teammates have already pointed it out, because as this case, you're raising health influencers, right? So that they help you with they want to help you promote all of these products, all of these trends, that aesthetics that they're following. And for example, if you just go through them with entertainment slowly, as you raise this inside the social media, when social media, basically half of them is about these routines, how to keep you mentally well enough. So these things will just go into your mind. As I said, time does everything. Younger generation can believe in these things very easily, and if we promote them now, we cannot stop in the future. So now what we the second clash is about the trust in healthcare. So our opponents said is that they believe that the influencers would need views to make single mistake, and they will lose subscribers and viewers, and also people are not dumb enough, so people can trust what is correct and what is incorrect. So what we responded is by saying that economy is not to fool people with alternatives like professional medical information, as our second speaker said, and in our side we can maximize the benefit from professional feedback, and that's why professional feedback is much more better than these influencers just promoting aesthetics. So why we win this clash? Because we provide more trust, while our opponent just decreases the actual meaning and use of professional doctors by just using these influencers and thinking that these influencers are professional enough to provide us with all of these products and all of these ways that can help you to chill out or things like that. So influencers make these mental solutions weird and non-trustworthy, or even not safe enough for people to try. As I said, people can just follow these influencers and maybe just eat an apple for a breakfast, and this could help them get like stomach problems or other more. So that's why aesthetics and trendy things are not good and not positive. And what we win by individual interest, health influencer hurt ordinary people's bodies directly. We put in more mechanism, because we explain all how following aesthetics and following trends are not good for people, and why these influencers would try to promote their aesthetics. And the rise of health-based influencing does more harm than good. And at the end of my speech, I would like to inform you, Judge, this is not a debate. This is an influence on future generations, and just promote these health-based influencer right now. We can never stop in the future. Thank you.
In the status quo, loss of health-based influencing is continuing, and it does more goods than harms. Our site proves about why health-based influencing should continue, and I will explain more on it. Propose. Before moving on, I would like basic comparison between government and opposition. Government is stating that the information given from health-based influencers are misinformations, and it could make viewers vulnerable. And opposition is arguing about why health-based influencing is beneficial by explaining benefits viewers are having, such as accessibility, products and services viewers are having, and influencing positive changes, which we further explained in our arguments. Before moving on to our few rebuttals and few clashes, we have one big clarification. Misinformation can happen, but it is not always happening. If health-based influencing is misinformation, how can you trust anything else in network or social media? For instance, won't idols be defaked? Not right? It is safe for health-based influencing. They could be true information, but they could be exaggerated. However, there's a higher possibility and a higher chance of being a true information, and this is what we are debating about in this motion. Moving on to our rebuttal, before moving on to clashes, our first rebuttal is about stakeholders. Government argued about young people are getting affected by these algorithms. However, do you think young people watch or do social media more, or adults do social media more? Obviously, adults. Thus, do you think young children try to make their body like bodybuilders. No, their point is too unrealistic and is gone too far from the status quo and the motion itself. And also further explaining, the whip speaker of government team had claimed that younger people, older people and adults will be tricked more easily than younger people. However, isn't younger people more immature and easier to be tricked? Their point obviously fails, and they have a burden of proof. And yeah, our second rebuttal is about adding on to our first speaker's POI response. Adding on to our POI response, if we can't trust social media influencers, how do we trust any other things? As mentioned before, in a one big clarification I mentioned in my opening, how do we trust any other things in networks or social medias? News, information, idols, will it be complete scam? We believe that even though something could be exaggerated, not all of them are exaggerated. There are higher chance of true information, and higher chance is what we're talking about and what is exclusive in this debate and in this motion. Our first speaker explained further points that I will move on. I'll take it later. And our third rebuttal is about only thing the opposition side is arguing about is health-based influencer. On the other hand, we believe that we highlighted all of the benefits of health-based influencers in our arguments. Furthermore, we answered their POIs, which make no sense compared to what we stated by claiming and comparing with other trustable sources in social networks. I'll take the POI.
You claim that if we neglect all these health-based influencing, we should not trust anything on social media howsoever. However, we're just opposing the rise of health-based influencing. So we're not putting it in the top of social media, and we don't want a lot of people to follow it, and we don't think that is actually beneficial for people. So how can you explain in a case like that?
That's what our side is talking about. As government side mentioned in a whole debate about misinformation of health-based influencing and and viewers of health-based influencing will be vulnerable or will not. However, we're talking about if we become so generous that their point is true and their point is valid, we're arguing about how will this be exclusive. Even though it is exclusive, we believe that if this happens, should be same logic as everything else. News should be a complete scam, and we couldn't trust any of it. If we follow the logic of government sides, and we believe that their point of whole debate completely fails. And moving on to our major clashes of this debate, our first clash is about, is information trusty or not? This was the whole point of the debate. Government argued about it is all exaggerated and misinformation. However, opposition is arguing about it is not a misinformation. It could make positive changes. As clarified before, health-based influencing is not always misinformation. It gives extreme positive impact if we become so generous that reviewing products and services are so treacherous that everyone will be in vulnerable situations. Why didn't health-based influencers go to hospital or even died? Furthermore, as both our speakers claimed, because influencers has high risk of failing by producing misinformation, they will obviously try to avoid these kind of conflicts. Thus, even though exaggerated misinformation came from one influencer, another influencer review once more, that everyone can know that it is dangerous or will not, it will form safe and trustable web inside social media, and it will be exclusive for this debate. Moving on to our second to last clash of this debate, trendiness versus what they really need. Opposition argued about healthy conclusions, and government is talking about trendiness. However, being healthy is not being trendy. It is life fitness. There are routines which is effective for every people. This is why gym exists, and people are so addicted to diet or will not. If we become so generous that people do it for trendiness, still it'll help people, or even trendiness doesn't support their whole arguments that them watching health-based influencer will be vulnerable, that it doesn't stand, because they should watch health-based influencer to learn any routines or products reviewed by them and and follow the trend that everyone else do and become and start to build the body and whatnot. Thank you.
Judge, at the end of this debate, the question is simple. Which world creates a healthier society? The opposition entire case comes down to one point. Health influencers might spread misinformations. Honestly, that is an exaggerated claim. But let's be so generous and assume that sometimes on influencers make mistake. Even then, the benefits in our world clearly outweighs the harms in theirs. Why is this case? Millions of people not regularly visits doctors, nutritionists, or health professionals because of cost, time, or lack of access. In the opposition's world, many of these people simply receive no health information at all. In our world, health influencers make informations about exercise, nutrition, sleep, and mental well-being simple, accessible, and engaging. For many people, an influencer is the first they started they start exercising or eat healthier or caring about their health. The opposition also said that influencers only care about money and will recommend unnecessary products that might be not helpful to audience, or uh, it's not going to show the power that the influencer sets, but people are not irrational. Yes, algorithms are persuasive, but consumers compare products and read reviews and reviews and comments, watch multiple creators and make informed decisions. Even if a big creator says this product is really good, because usually it is not cheap, or they will continuously look at other videos and compare whether this is really a good product so that they can invest their time and money to that product and they can trust it. They do not blindly buy a product simply because a popular influencer recommends it. If that were true, every sponsored product would become a bestseller, which clearly does not happen. Because Stussy, they don't really, even though they are even really a famous brand, they can't sell all the products, and the products does not always be famous because there's a lot of companies also make it. So furthermore, our site showed that health influencers provide personalized products and services for a different audience. Someone trying to lose weight needs uh different advice from someone trying to build muscle or improve sleep. Specialized influencers help people find informations that fits their own goals and lifestyles. Finally, our site proved that health influencers motivate positive behavior changes. They inspire millions of people to exercise, eat healthier, and improve their daily habits. Motivation leads to actions, and action leads to better public health, which is over in our world, audience will going to eventually have good health. And also, let's compare the worlds. In their world, fewer people engage with health informations, fewer people are motivated to improve their lifestyles, and many simple will just ignore their health. In our world, health information becomes accessible, personalized, and motivating for millions of ordinary people, which means it is really accessible. So even if you don't have money, you can still watch this video and be strong or healthy or sleep well. And proud to oppose.
Madam Chair, this debate was never about whether health is good. Everyone in this room agrees that people should be healthy. The question here is far narrower. Should we celebrate and encourage a system where health advice is increasingly delivered through influencers, algorithms, and online personalities? After this debate, the answer is clearly no, and prop side has clearly already won this debate. And now I will show you why. This is. First clash is accessibility versus ability. The opposition's entire case relies on one claim, that is, health influencers make health information accessible. We do agree, but accessibility is only valuable if the information is reliable. The opposition spends this debate proving that more people can access health content. They never prove that the content people access is accurate. This is a crucial distinction. Judge, if I, let's say, make misinformation accessible to millions of people, I have not solved the problem, I've multiplied it. And explain why this happens. First, health influencers operate in an environment where success depends on views, engagement, how viral your content is, and sponsorships. The content that succeeds is not the most accurate. It is the most attention-grabbing. A doctor saying results vary and depend on individual circumstances does not go viral. An influencer saying this one habit changed my life forever does. This means the system structurally rewards exaggeration. The opposition never answers this incentive. Even if most influencers are well-intentioned, they're still rewarded for making health simpler, faster, and more dramatic than it actually is. So at best, opposition proves information becomes more available. We prove that information becomes less trustworthy. And when health decisions affect people's bodies, trustworthiness matters more than accessibility. Second clash is on empowerment and harm. Judge, critical thinking is not a magic shield, as what opposition repeatedly tells us how people can think critically. Humans are influenced by repetition, social pressure, authority, and lifestyles. If critical thinking alone prevented harm, advertising simply would not work, propaganda would not work, social media would not work. The entire influencer industry exists because people are inherently influenceable. More importantly, our first argument was never simply about misinformation. It was about comparison. The opposition never properly responds to this. Even if a teenager knows an influence lifestyle is unrealistic, they still compare themselves. They still see the perfect bodies. They still see the perfect routines. They perfect transformations. The harm occurs even when they know it is unrealistic. Because the question becomes, oh, why don't I look like that? Not, do I believe every word they say? The opposition treats humans as perfectly rational actors. The reality is that people are emotional, social creatures. And health influencing exploits those emotions. On our third clash with the stakeholder weighing, this is where proposition decisively wins. The opposition focuses on a narrow group, people who are motivated by health influencers. We are happy to concede that these people, but some individuals start exercising, become more interested in nutrition, and improve their habits. But debate is not about identifying any benefit. It is about identifying the largest and most important impacts. So the first stakeholder is young people, and this is the most important stakeholder in this debate. Young people consume enormous amounts of social media, like teenagers or university students or high school students. They're still forming self-esteem, body image, and relationships with food and exercise. When exposed to unrealistic health standards, the consequences can last years. This is a massive group and a deep harm. Second stakeholder is ordinary consumers. These people lack the time and expertise to verify each claim they encounter. They're vulnerable to misinformation, unnecessary spending, and ineffective products. The opposition's model asks every consumer to become their own health expert. That is unrealistic. Third stakeholder is society. A healthy society depends on trust in evidence and expertise, and the rise of health influencing shifts trust from qualified professionals towards popularity and engagement. And this affects not just individuals, but public understanding. Judge, compare what each side gives you. The opposition gives you more accessible information, but they cannot guarantee accuracy, and they cannot prevent the harms we identify. Their benefits are concentrated, our harms are widespread. So even if you believe that health influencers are occasional help people, that does not outweigh the structural harms created by the system. And for those reasons, proposition wins this debate. Thank you.